Hear me okay? Really excited about this space today. Like I was saying, great. So before we dive in here, I just wanted to say one more time. Let's get some comments. Let's get this space. Really interesting topic today. And of course, my name's Alex. I'm the community slash BD guy over here at Footprint Analytics. And in case you don't know about Footprint, we are your kind of one-stop shop when it comes from data infra, right? We have tons of chains. We got two more coming, Rootstock and Sui, so stay tuned for that. We got over 2,000 plus GameFi protocols, and we have some great, we have some great data solutions for your games as well. So if you're building a game and you want to know how to grow it by combining Web2 and your Web3 data all in one sort of portal, getting you user funnels, we have over 100 plus connectors. We're your guys. Now, with that being said, before we dive in here, I'd love to do an introduction for some of our speakers about what they do and what they're building. So without further ado, let me pass the mic over to Wise Kim. And before I give it to Wise Kim, I'll have to say that his article is one of my inspirations for this space. So, Kim, if you have that article tweeted out, feel free to post it in the nest. It was a great article, and I recommend that everybody listening here go take a look at that. It was great. So, Mike's all yours, Kim, and feel free to introduce.
GM everyone, and thank you for shouting out my article. I'm Wise from Unopened, and my company is a Web3 incubator powered by Hashed, located in Korea. And I'm working as a marketing manager there, and taking care of projects, marketing strategy, and the community management. And and as the speaker said before, I am also writing some articles about some challenges of Web3 marketing and growth. And yeah, would like to talk more. Yeah, super excited about today's space.
Hey man, I'm super excited to have you up here. I know I kind of invited you last minute, but you pulled through, and that's what's up. And Cynthia, you know I'm gonna butcher your name, but the mic is all yours. Feel free to hit an intro and tell us about what you're doing.
Thank you for the invitation, guys, and everybody who's listening, all the new faces that I'm meeting today on the space. So, guys, before I came into Web3 and gaming, consider me as like a person who was born on a console, playing games from the day one. So, love gaming, love what's happening in the ecosystem, but spend my whole life, early days in the career, in marketing, in digital marketing, in hospitality. And back in 2020, I started with Web3, earliest in Web3, specifically in CDFI as a launchpad as business development manager. So uh, I will add what I have learned in my career path in the Web2 side in hospitality, digital marketing, as well as the challenges I have faced in Web3 by launching 30 plus Web3 gaming projects as a BDM in CDFI. So thank you very much for again having me.
Hey, no worries. It's a pleasure having you. And before I pass over to Jake, I just want to make sure everybody here listening, did you get her, Cynthia? Okay. It was I don't know if it's on my end here. I got a VPN and I'm on my balcony at 11:30 at night. So I'm trying to get the best connection possible here. So just making sure everybody's sounding good. Or if it's just me, all right. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass it over to Jake. How's it going, buddy? Nice to have you here once again.
Hey, it's glad to see you again, and I'm Jake from South Korea. Glad to see you all here and talking about awesome topics today. My name is Jake, and I've been in this industry since 2018, working at several global exchanges. And recently, I was in charge of the Korean marketing at the BNB chain, helping a lot of global projects and also local projects as well. So I think there's a lot of that I can add more values and insights for the listeners. So I decided to join and also love to talk with you. Thank you.
Great. So without further ado, let's dive into the topic. And the topic today is the challenges of user acquisition, especially around advertising for Web3 games. When we're looking at, traditional marketing, we know it's not, it just does not work for Web3. And when it comes to Web3 games, it's really important that, we get what's cost of acquiring a customer, right? And this is super hard when we don't have all that data uh, readily available. So, it's just a whole new ball game, and we're seeing it more and more often where, the Web2 companies are trying to get in, Web2 game studios are trying to get in, and they just aren't hitting the mark when it comes to getting their users and marketing to their users. So, my first questions for you guys, and you can just put up your hand and answer as we go. But the first question is what are the challenges faced by Web3 games in terms of user entry, traffic source tracking, and LTV tracking and platform policies. Platform policies is a tough one as well, especially, Web2 platforms aren't the most Web3 friendly. So, with that being said, if you guys have anything you want to say, throw up your hand and I'll call on you. Wise Kim.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question because basically every process is challenging from user entry to LTV tracking. So like let's start from the top of the funnel. The channel we are using to advertise is mostly based on Web2. And as you said, it's not Web3 friendly. That means that it's hard for us to put the advertisement on Web2 platform, and also there aren't lack of Web3 features to target the users. So it creates a lack of awareness and inefficient targetings. And after, even though like we acquire users through this advertisement, as our apps are working based on the wallets, it cannot create the meaningful conversion in our sites. And also, uh, the users coming from Web2 and their conversion are tracked on Web3, that creates the fraction to track the LTV, and so-called like it's hard to track the downstream revenue that we are creating by these ads. Yeah, and this is pretty challenging for the Web3 games. Yeah, this is
Absolutely.
my perspective. And yeah, and also like traffic source. When it comes to traffic source, the Google Analytics and some other attribution tools are taking care of it. So I think it's getting better, but other parts are still hard.
100%. Jake.
Yeah, it was an awesome answer by Wise Kim, and I just want to add up one more thing that compared to the Web2 and Web3 fields, that a lot of gaming companies, even including Web3 projects, they are actually based on their Web2 experience. But whenever I was talking to them about like how to measure the traffics and volumes and the user growth, they all have the different measurements than the Web3 does. So it means that in Web2, like they can measure the growth and the size of the game based on the users and also volumes of the game assets and a lot of different indicators. But in Web3, we calculate all these measurements and metrics based on the on-chain data. But I think that there is a difference between Web2 and Web3 like that. So. Um, and that makes really hard for those Web3 projects to get right evaluation. So because even though there are really good Web2 developers or game developers, but they do not know how to convert the numbers onto the on-chain data. So I think there's a challenge for those game developers as well.
Yeah, man, I think you are really hitting the nail on the head there. And Muaz, last but not least.
Thank you. Actually, before answering the question itself, I would actually try to add the value of why do we really need the tools and all these things. Because, for example, Footprint, if I'm not wrong, you guys are coming up with a bunch of tools. That's gonna be. I actually had a space yesterday specifically talking about these tools, how we are lack of resources when it comes to marketing and understanding the users. Like, for example, back in 1990s, the very first digital promotion came online. It was from one of the telecom communications from USA. It was all about glitters and colors and multiple different colors. Why? Because of the human nature and psychology and all these things to attract the users to click on these things. Some will say clickbait and all these things, but it's all about playing with the psychology. But when it comes to now fast forward to the today's state, when the iOS applications was introduced into the Android and Windows, were there any challenges? Yes. For example, if your game was launched on Google App Store or Apple Play Store, then you need an integration or an interface connection that actually can read through all the traffic that you are gaining in. The reason is you need to understand the user journey to better deliver a better product to the end user, and then came in the Firebase of the user of the Google, because Firebase allows you to track all the data from the Apple Store and the Android. And that's something actually what's missing in Web3, like Vice Kim mentioned about these users, like how much we are spending, what kind of return of investment we are having, what's the user acquisition per user, how much we are spending. Like, for example, if a game is done, last numbers I have seen in Web3 is per user, it was like $4 or something, while the specifically focusing on the gaming side, the traditional gaming, big companies like NetEase claims Southeast Asian market is like 0.18 cents, while Tencent claims on the USA and the South America market combined is like $1.50 per user acquisition. So, which is quite high. The only thing is we don't really know, or we don't understand without having these tools. So I personally have seen a lot of Web3 games that either not even using the existing ones or not really working for them, like certain reasons, like Weiss mentioned, that on-chain data is not available because they have to go to the blockchain data analysis tools available to get those stuffs, and then combine all those stuffs manually with the user behavior and all these things. For example, in one sense, when it comes to traditional user tracking on the applications that are distributed or published on the App Store and Play Store, at the end of the day, if they're doing any on-chain activity or things that need to be tracked by the app itself on the back end. So these tools are quite very important when it comes to publishing game or having a game, because then only you will understand, okay, your users are leaving the game because they don't want to log in with the wallet. Okay, users are leaving because they came up to a point trying to buy an NFT, and they were unable to play the game because there's no NFT in their wallet, and they don't want to spend money to buy an NFT. Okay, we had 100 users coming in, 70 left, so 70% of the users went out because of this reason. So we need to have this kind of tools, and I'm really glad that I'm with you guys talking about these things, because these tools are very important if we are talking about launching games, understand the user journey, and all these things.
100%. And I guess this kind of goes into my next question here, you guys. And like, how does the use of wallets in Web3 games make user behavior tracking and attribution difficult, right? Are there any solutions or projects currently addressing this issue? And I guess one, got to give a shout out when I can. And I guess one project that kind of helps with this issue is Footprint with our wallet gamer profiles and our wallet tracking that we offer for games. But let me pass that question off. Like, how does the use of wallets affect this user behavior? Love to hear. Let me start it back off with Kim.
Yeah, first of all, I also think the footprint analytics are providing a very strong tools to track the user behaviors on chain, because the one challenges we are having is when it comes to the on chain transaction, it does not contains a lot of social context, which requires some high level abstraction of the data. But it's very hard for a project level to handle those data, and footprint analytics are providing those abstraction in very hands-on manner. So it was super convenient for me to, check out like which users are active on our platform. Yeah, but let's divide the funnel first. When it comes to the top of the funnel, as I said before, we are acquiring user from the Web2 channels, which has a bunch of social context but lack of conversion data. But Web3, we do not have much social data, but we have a conversion data. So it's very tricky to match those things. So yeah, so when it comes to behavior tracking, I think it's Dune Analytics, Footprint Growth Analytics, Nansense are providing some on-chain data processing, addressing these issues, to track the on-chain behaviors. But when it comes to the Web2 behaviors, we need the attribution tools, which can track the conversions from the advertisement channels into our DApps. So I think the Cookies Tree and the Spindles is building a pretty awesome tools, attribution solutions. Yeah, and yeah, I think there are several more growth tools that taking care of these issues, but like Web2, Web3, connecting Web2 and Web3 attribution is pretty tricky in my opinion.
I agree, and that's something that we've always kind of brainstorming at Footprint, right? Because we have all these different connectors to, bridge the Web 2 and the Web 3 data. But then it's like once we have all this data, what are the metrics that games really care about, and how do we provide that for all the different dApps and the studios and everybody building on top of that? I'm going to pass this question next over to Jake. How does the use of wallets in Web3 games make user behavior tracking and attribution difficult?
Yeah, this is a great question, to be honest. So I think it also relies on the user behavior, different behaviors between Web2 and Web3 games. So first of all, I want to address that we should not draw a strict line between Web2 and Web3 games, because a lot of gamers are actually just looking for more fun and more interesting content from all the gamings. And in this kind of views that when there's a wallet, let's say like in the first era when the X Infinity started, that a lot of P2E games requires users to have their own wallets because they need an NFT to start a game, and that is some of the things like very new. Like it was never introduced to the games earlier before. Even though like World of Warcraft or like all those RPG games requires users to purchase a monthly subscription to try the game, but it was not something like they require some of the tools or install some applications to play those games. I think from there, I think the barrier to enter into those like Web3 games has enlarged and increased. And now, even though a lot of P2E games or like Web3 games do not require users to have that wallets itself, but of course, a lot of things, I mean, game assets and digital assets are stored on wallets. So compared to the user base between the Web2 and Web3 games, I think it makes it more hard. And let's say user behavior tracking in terms of it. So even though the wallet itself, like let's say DeFi or CeFi wallets, are providing those storage services, many other wallets do not provide any data analytics services to its users or providers. So that's why a lot of gaming companies are developing their own wallets so that they can also keep the data. And also, a lot of people are actually relying on the on-chain transactions. So from those wallets, I think it is making like so like even though like the wallets, the services and the functions are getting developed, I don't see any like a big improvements or like a effectiveness of using those wallets to track those user behaviors itself, or like make it easier. And I'm sure that like there will be some solutions maybe from the game companies itself, or as I said, as Wise Kim mentioned earlier, like Dune Analytics or any other analytics services or search companies can also contribute to this. So I know that a lot of projects are relying on the data provided by the DeFi Llama, but I think it will be more something like that we have to find like what will be some of the data that we can abstract from those like wallets and also on-chain data to evaluate like whether this game, Web3 game, is valuable or not. So I think we need more of the new standards by many other projects. That's my opinion.
Absolutely, 100%. And Muaz, up to you, man.
Thank you. Jake, well, definitely I don't think there is more that I could add to what you both mentioned, because I agreed 100% on what you guys mentioned. And definitely the solution providers that would need to come out. There are like specifically two wallets in addition that I keep in my eyes when it comes to gaming and all these things. But I prefer to say keep it simple for the gamers. As a person who had played games, let the gamers log in with their social logins, because there are more gamers on the social platforms like outside X actually. We are having a space on the X, but still on Facebook, the community of gaming is quite big. The people who are still in the gaming, they prefer to have a Facebook community, and almost all the gamers around me, they try to log in with almost all the most popular games out there in traditional gaming. They use either Facebook or some sort of Google login. So let them use the Google login or something like that, and then let the users do the transaction whatsoever they do with the credit cards and all these things. I know there is one available, and Footprint, you guys are also bringing this wallet solution. That will be really cool if it can be combined with the analytic tools you have available. Yes,
Yeah, that's what so they're really trying. Like I said, we have all these different connectors that you can upload to our cloud, right? We got the Google Analytics, we have the Slack, Gmail, Facebook, Discord, Twitter, all that sort of stuff, right? And it's just like, I think the real struggle is what data do we need to look at, and how much of this data is really relevant? And then two, the cost of these connectors, right? When we want to get Twitter APIs, it's getting more and more expensive by the day. And this is another block that for a lot of game studios is just affording just budgeting to get this data, right? It's expensive, right? And we're trying to build a game on top of harnessing the data to get all the users, right? Where does the money go? And this is just something that's very, very difficult at this moment. Wise Kim, I saw you had your hand up. Is there anything you want to add before I go to the next question?
Yeah, I think the Muaz and Jake pointed a very valid points that the wallet is super important. I think the like enhancing the user onboarding experience through social logins or like account abstraction, this definitely increases. It will increase the conversion rate of the games, and also it will minimize the frictions of behavior tracking and the attribution, uh, onboarding like Web2 users into Web3.
Great. And now for the next question here, this is kind of a doozy. It's a little two-parter, but how do platform policies of traditional game distribution platforms, for example, Google or Apple, affect Web3 games, right? And what are the limitations imposed by these platforms on Web3 game developers? And I'm going to pass it right to Muaz. I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Uh, back in 2021, I actually had an experience, because recently Google actually have changed certain things, not specifically about the NFTs or having NFTs in their applications or so, but about advertising the NFTs or games that have NFTs in their platform and chain. But still, back in 2021, I had an experience, a game that had NFTs that allow users to download their application from the Google and Apple both. What they came up with the solution was having the backend or the main website as the platform where users would be able to log in with the same email address that they're logging to the application that they're downloading from the Google. And the moment when they download, that allows them to have a proxy wallet and transfer all this stuff as normal assets. So when it comes to current changes, what I see is like still we don't see, like, let's consider it's like a Fortnite or a Free Fire or PUBG or any other game that you can play on mobile, like Pokemon. The NFT you have on the game, actually it's not really on chain at the moment, in my opinion. When it comes to application games that are built on application and launch on application, that we need with these gaming studios. For example, what I see is recently Garena getting into Web3 and doing huge investments with the publisher of Free Fire, getting huge investments in these things. So as far as I know from the Reddit community of the Garena, that the Garena is basically in touch with Google to bring certain changes to the games that are being built on the platform that they are investing in. If I'm not wrong, it's Forte that they are investing in. So I would actually keep an eye on those things, how the things are developing, and how we would be able to have direct NFTs in the application itself in the future.
Yeah, man, and as we're going, it seems that these platforms are getting a little bit more and more Web3 friendly, right? Because they're missing out on this piece of the Web3 pie, right? That they currently were, or they were, hesitant to take a bite of before, but where there's, these companies want to follow the money, and there's money here to be made. So that being said, too, I'm going to pass this question over to Jake. Jake, how do the policies of traditional game distribution platforms affect Web3 games, and what are the limitations imposed by these platforms on Web3 developers?
Oh yeah, so a long time ago, like back in 2019 and 2020, when just Xe Infinity just started, I remember that App Store did not allow to onboard those any P2E related gaming applications, and suddenly after the exponential growth of all the P2E communities, I know that they changed the policies, and also it happened the same for the Google Play Store as well. Um, and recently, actually, it is very different in every country, but there was a big issue in Korea earlier in this year that one of the P2E game was doing a. The case was sent to the Supreme Court of Korea to determine whether P2E game is legal or not. And unfortunately, the Korean court decided that P2E game is something has to be regarded under the securities, not as a game, because it has so many indicators that are going over than the gaming content. So still a lot of these discussions and like disputes are going on about the P2E game policies. So uh, in my conclusion is that it might be different about like each country's jurisdictions, but for sure, like day by day, based on the growth of the P2E games in the community, a lot of companies and also countries are accepting more edited version of policies about the games as well. And when we talk about the not only about the distribution platforms, but I think it is more important for those game developers, like whether they can actually build something about like P2E games or like at least Web3 games. There might be some of the limitations if you are strictly into those like rules and the jurisdictions and policies. But I'm sure that like they are like now trying to look at which game is actually making a good progress and like so like basically like we need more of the P2E games with the high quality and also Web3 games with the better like a contribution to the gaming world, and I'd love to see more of it. So I think it depends on like how many game developers are gonna be interested in about building Web3 games, and I'm sure that they will change the all the policies very positive towards the Web3 game field.
Absolutely. I think, it really does depend, region by region. I think this was another is a really important point that you brought up, Jake. I'm happy you did. Wise Kim, is there anything that you'd like to add on to this question?
Yeah, I think also the biggest challenges here is the traditional game distribution platform depends on the local policies. As Jake said, in Korea, P2E games are not allowed to be listed because also the security issue, but most of the P2E games are considered gambling in Korea. They consider like converting in-game items into the governance token, which can be converted into fiat currency, as a gambling stuff. So I think this one is a challenge, and another one is when you think about the business model of the traditional game distribution platform like Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, the in-app purchase fee is the biggest business model. So, however, the Web3 games they are against these policies because they have more open structures, like assets are traded on like external marketplaces or like by the P2P user transactions. So I think this part is uh and and our studio is trying to build a game, and they are definitely want to be listed on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store, but it's hard to list because without in-app purchase it's hard to be confirmed, and they strongly push games to use in-app purchase, and they are not they don't want like games to use the P2P functions or directing users into the external links to purchase something. So missing this channel. Like games are missing the most visible channels to convert and acquire users, and this is challenges for the Web3 game developers. Like how we can uh, how we can put on our games to the App Store or on the Google Play Store, and most of the attribution solution and the mobile SDK for the mobile games uh, at the existing at Web 2 is very this platform friendly, and it's hard for games which are not listed on the Google Play Store or Apple App Store cannot implement this efficiently, and it comes to the limitation of tracking the downstream revenues of our advertisement as well.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really great point there. The second point, I think that's really great for everybody here listening to take note of. And but I want to pass this question over to JRP, one of our extra speakers today. I'm happy you made it up here. Do you have anything you want to add to this question? If not, feel free to do an intro, and then we'll kind of do a room reset and move to the next question.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think that, obviously we all have been waiting for these games to come in. I think the idea of user acquisition is finally coming to play in terms of like, instead of marketing and branding, it's actually focused on retention, churn, which is what we've been needing to focus on. Because if we don't have these metrics, we can't build great games that we can ultimately replicate further. I'm actually working with a group called Rev, who's focused on building badge reward systems in game to actually see the value of account holders that ultimately mint those badges on chain, which I think is another kind of user acquisition model that we're going to be seeing specifically on the Web3 part of gaming, which I think is interesting and something that we haven't really explored too much. But just to give a quick intro, my name's JRP. I kind of do a lot in the space, and partnerships for ReNFT, one of the leading rental infrastructure protocols, P2P related. I'm also a co-founder of Rev, the founder of Web3GG, and also going to be coming on Catalyst Guild as partnerships there, and a couple of other things. Happy to be here, and then happy to answer more questions later on.
Hey man, sounds like you got your hands full, especially in the gaming industry. I love it, man. I love it. Cynthia, is there anything that you want to add on here?
Yeah, I wanted to add, like, we have seen how things can positively affect into Web3 game when it comes to these like small things that are changed by these Web3 like big companies and all these things. Like for example, recently Google did. I told you guys previously about my experience of having the main website as the platform where you download the game. You're treating the game as a normal game that you download from the App Store and all these things. And if you are a traditional user, you are basically using the credit card and all these things to buy the stuff that you are doing. And basically on the back end, the team have to balance it out, how many NFTs or how many skins being sold and how many of those are available on the market for the NFTs. And definitely that's not really the safest way, because you are actually holding those NFTs in your hand as a company, as a developer team. So talking about how these things positively can change, it was like those days also I had to ask them to make a landing page, a separate landing page that doesn't talk too much about the NFTs or token or any kind of speculation, a free, like a floating landing page that specifically talks about their game and all these things. This allowed them to run the Google Ads and all these things. That was early 2022. I still have the case study on my own hand that I ran the.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Because that was quite effective. And later on, recently, the Google actually changed everything when it comes to promoting NFT or crypto-related, blockchain-related stuff. Then we just wiped out the previous old landing page and left it for the traditional users to just read it on more like a news page. And then they are now using the main page as a direct redirecting users to come in, and that it includes traditional users and all the stuff. Like Vice mentioned, still that hall of doing the transactions and all these things, because of course the elephant in the room is bigger companies or so-called big in traditional companies. They need to have their pie in the whole cake. So we won't be able to do those things, change those things overnight. But the other positive thing is, when I started, it was 2021. The first game when we started talking about it was like you are playing on Twitch, Aliens World, or even Xe Infinity, you are unable to create a profile over there and all the stuffs. Profile, I mean, you can have your own Twitch profile and all these things, but later on the DBB, you can publish your game as a profile, so people who are playing as streamers take your game. So that was changing back in 2021, December or early 2022, and then Amazon actually is the fastest forward moving, I would say, traditional platform that is focused on blockchain. Recently, they did an NFT actually drop on for their Prime members from one of the games in the Web3 ecosystem called Planet Mojo or something, and I even claimed it. So you, as a Prime member, you would be able to go and claim an NFT on the Polygon blockchain from Amazon. So I think we will see, I don't think, I'm sure that we will see a lot of stuff going forward, moving in a positive way to the blockchain games when Google and Apple start following what Amazon have done. That I want to add. JRP?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
JRP.
want to touch on that, the Amazon with Planet Mojo, because we saw that, and I think they only added like 100 new holders. So like, what was the user acquisition there, right? Like, it wasn't really anything. I think when it comes to this idea of giving ownership to more people, I think the Amazon route is great. And for those of you who don't know, like Amazon Gaming is pretty big, like has a substantial amount of like holder or not holders, but like actual gamers. But again, we didn't see that ultimately translate. I think ultimately it's the IP, right? Where we need like a strong IP that of people wanting it and people wanting to play it. We don't have that yet, but you're right. It's a great distribution system, and I just wish that it worked a little bit better for Planet Mojo. It just goes to show that we just can't like show someone something to someone and automatically blow it up, but there has to be, something behind it, right? And I mean, obviously, I love the Planet Mojo team. I've been working with them for a while. I'm sure that they're going to figure it out. I think they just want to release their game, right, and ideally get to that spot.
Yeah, I think that's another limitation as well, right? A lot of these games, they just got to get it out there. Especially from pressure from VCs, to get in the hype of Web3 gaming, right? They just got to get the game out, and we can see how the advertising and the retention of users is kind of falling a little bit behind when the focus is get the game out right away. Now I'm going to do a bit of a room reset. So if you guys are enjoying this space and what we're talking about so far, hit us with a retweet. Let's get your friends in here. Leave some comments if there's anything that you would love to talk about, or if you have any comments about what the speakers are saying. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And with that being said, I'm diving into the next question here, and that is, how does the openness of Web3 challenge the traditional advertising model? What are the potential advantages and disadvantages of Web3 native ads? And I'm passing this one right to Wise Kim.
Yeah, so let's start from like how traditional ads works. So we've been advertising to the traditional platforms like Google, Facebook, Twitter, and they are getting fees from our ads. And this one, so when it comes to the openness of Web3, of course, like redistributing this value, which used to be go to the third party, can be redistributed to the users. So it can be a better way for projects to provide a better incentive for the engagement. And also, like due to the openness of the Web3, the wallet can directly engage into the ads. So it can change the entire ads pricing model, which used to be like CPM, CPC based, but uh, like Web3 ads can discover a more cost per value based model and can provide more efficient cost per action indicate for the like projects when they run the ads on Web3. And I think this is a kind of paradigm shift for the ads market, because when you see the YouTube and the Instagram, the creators are putting their branded page for direct purchase of the clothes or the goods they're using right now, and implementing Web3 so this conversion can be better. It can be more smoother, but the point is that the right now Web3 user base is not big enough, and most of their behaviors are more financially incentivized. So I'm looking forward for more social platforms and more ads platforms, to create to have more publishers or more user bases who are more interested in their social interactions or social engagement, so that this Web3 open ads can be more implemented into this space, and it will eventually benefit our games, as we want gamers rather than like airdrop hunters or low lack of retention users who are just interested in earning something.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the good point there. How users can directly um, interact with the ads, and we're kind of seeing a slow rise of more and more uh, NFTs as advertisements, which I think is something that I think is quite interesting, and I'm excited to see how it evolves. And then the same question here: how does the openness of Web3 challenge the traditional advertising model, and what are the potential advantages and disadvantages of Web3 ads? JRP.
Yeah, I actually want to touch on something that I feel like not a lot of people talk about, and I'm not really sure why. Like, I understand the traditional like advertising model. I think that's great for user acquisition and actually just understanding, bringing in people into your game. But when it comes to actually hitting into the databases of what Web3 is, which is, let's say that you're Mario and you sell a Mario plushie, like the person who buys that Mario plushie, you don't know what other plushies of other IPs they hold, because you obviously can't really track that. But I mean, that's what blockchain does, right? It's this ledger that can allow us to transparently see what other people are holding. And I think that one of the things that we've been missing and are going to continue to see moving forward is this idea of being able to track analytically what a wallet, like a wallet holds, which I guess we can equate to like a user, but of course multiple users hold multiple wallets, or a user can have multiple wallets, to see, hey, this person is holding, for example, a shrapnel operator NFT. They're holding five, so they're most likely really into first person shooter games. So maybe let's airdrop them or give them an opportunity to mint out, a free NFT from our mint, but only them though, instead of just everybody, so that it gets super diluted. I think that we're going to start thinking about these strategies more and more as we start to realize how much information is embedded into wallets, because every time that you connect your wallet somewhere, you're giving your information out to the entity in which you're interacting your wallet with. We're going to start seeing a lot more with it, and again, what we're working on Rev is exactly that. Is right now, honestly, I can kind of do it where I can send out a link to every single person and say, hey, you interacted with me on a Twitter space, collect this badge because I want you to be part of my community. And as soon as you connect your badge, which means you mint it, I get to see all the access of your wallet, so that I have a better idea of what my community is. What is my community a part of? If I see that 80% of you are really into pudgy NFTs, I most likely will go to the pudgy NFT community and say, hey, most of my community members are already parts of, like, your holders. They're part of your community. How can we work together to increase that community between you and I? Which I think we'll see a lot of that with Web3 games moving forward in the future.
Yeah, I think that's also something that's very important is segmenting our users so we can reward them appropriately. And that's something that I think is really useful with wallet profiles. Again, hitting the shill where I can, but Footprint does that with wallet profiles of gamers, tracking transactions and what they're holding, so that your users, so you can segment these users to appropriately airdrop what that they will like based on what they're holding, right? We might not have demographic data, but I kind of have your user data in a way where I can still figure out what you want and how to get you what you want effectively. So, great point, GRP. I'm gonna pass this question next to Jake. Is there anything you'd like to add on here, bud?
About the traditional advertising model, right?
Yes. So the question again is, how does the openness of Web3 challenge the traditional advertising model, and what are the potential advantages and disadvantages of Web3 native ads?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in my experience, like I think there's nothing more to add, other than like what other people have told. But just one more thing that I just want to add up is that, whenever that people are doing some of the Web3 native ads, that it is like it focuses on the parts that people can make some passive incomes or some of the token incentives, not only thing that we can expect from the playing games. So I think that's probably something that, in general, that Web3 native ads have as a problem. That, as I said, it will be some of the disadvantage that we have. But advantage that we will have is, compared to the traditional advertising model, that we can probably deploy some of the smart contracts and like follow the on-chain data, and also it will show more transparent data on the data side. And also it can provide incentives directly from the advertisements to the users who clicks it and also who follow the advertisement. But of course, like this is something that people have to understand on behalf of all the Web3 projects. So if we are targeting those people outside of the Web3 field, I think there's still a barrier to make them understand about this model works. So for now, I think we need to more focus on like, as we call so-called Web 2.5 kind of advertised models, not like completely leaned onto the Web3 native ads. Thank you.
Amen. Always a pleasure to hear you speak. Muaz, is there anything you'd like to add before I hop to the next question?
Yeah, sure. When it comes to Web 2 and Web 3, the competition, I personally don't see too much. When it comes to transparency, yes. For example, if you're looking at something to buy when you are on the laptop or computer, you will see that, hey, this item is available on this platform to buy just a limited amount of two pieces, that can be taken out when it comes to Web3 because it's on chain, it's available, like GRP said, it's transparent. So that part I see. And about, again, coming to regulations and all these things, or the hurdles we are having, but let's go back and take a look. Nobody yet have actually done too much of analytics on how many people got scammed through advertisement run through Web2 targeting the crypto market. I think it was the report in 2022 early. There was like most of the users, they claim that most of the ads run on Instagram uh, are the main reason for the exploits happening and all these things. What we have seen, the biggest exploits in the NFT market happen because of the ads and all these things. So I think when it comes to advertising and all these things, a lot of people will be skeptical when they see something like an NFT or something like a crypto ad that's happening. So I think there is something that we all like, regardless of what you are building in crypto, whether it's a DeFi or NFT or even a game. I think all the legit and strong projects need to work together and make it as a one huge community instead of finding competitors within ourselves. It's one small community that we are trying to build out. Because early days when the gaming studio, for example, take a look at not engine, sorry, the game developers, how they are doing it and how they are promoting their games when it comes to Unity, how they recently Unity changed some policies within their ecosystem, like charging the publishers and all these things, and how these indie game developers came up against all these things and all these stuff because they are not really competing within themselves. If you go to Slack, any indie community, you will see like the people who are developing one game trying to help with the other game. Even they build tools for within themselves and they share the community. Like if somebody is doing a game for casual and the other person is doing a battle royale, and if the other person is doing an RPG game, they actually share this tool like analytics and everything between themselves instead of competing with each other. And I think instead of looking into that, we also need to, like, almost all the projects need to work together because we have a very strong and advantage over Web 2 when it comes to marketing, and that's community, and how close we are with community and how we can use our community to generate UGCs to educate the newcomers into the Web3. And we are in a crossroad where we are talking about bear markets and when the bull markets coming and all this time, and then the gaming bull market and all this stuff. So that means we might be able to see something even more greater than what we have experienced in 2021. So I would say there is not a big difference, but transparency is there. We just need to make our communities work together to tell the new people how they will be able to identify and understand this on-chain transparency.
Thank you, Moaz. Great points as always. Wise Kim, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I would like to add one more point that, like, I think the JRP made a really valid point, like able to access into the public ledger can create a better segment for projects to target users, but what I feel while organizing marketing campaigns in my company is that it's pretty comfortable nowadays to create the segments, but always it's hard to target those segments because uh there aren't many like Web3 native channels or like Web2 marketing channels to reach out to them. So yeah, but I also tried the NFT flyer, but the conversion is pretty good. So yeah, I recommend other projects to try if they have any chances.
Great. And now for the next question, this is kind of goes on to the last one a little bit, but what are some unique attention economy models that can be implemented in Web3? How can advertising be combined with these models? JRP, I'm hitting you.
Yeah, so the only thing that I can think of right now is honestly what happened with Axie Infinity and their user acquisition model through their scholarship system, or in other words, the reward share system. It was like if they were able to bring in people through like traditional marketing, and then because they had these on-chain systems, obviously, like for me personally, when you think about play to earn, and I heard the Korean stance of the play to earn, which I think is really valid, but when I think about play to earn, it really enables so many more people and lowers the opportunity cost of a gamer to enter into the actual ecosystem. Sorry for the background, by the way. There's dogs outside. Into the ecosystem that we're really taking advantage of. So you obviously saw Axie Infinity grow from 0 to almost a mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, in almost 4 months, which was crazy. I think we'll continue to see those models in play, from traditional UA models of getting people inside of an ecosystem and then activating those users using Web3 enabled advertising.
Amen. And Wise Kim, I saw your hand up, and then I'll go to Cynthia.
Yeah, I think when it comes to attention economy, it's not limited to Web3 because creative is always important for the success of the marketing campaigns. Yeah, but I would like to talk about the cost per value models can be combined. Like affiliate rewards can be directly shared among users who create the attention successfully because due to the like community of the Web3, like we have a lot of marketing agents who can spread out our words, and we can create the unique scheme to reward for their contributions through our tokens, and the users can create a better creatives than marketers because they are the real players. So yeah, I'm thinking about like Web3 attention economies in Web3 can be amplified through leveraging our communities and rewarding them, yeah, to create a better UGC and a better creatives to attract users.
True. Cynthia, I saw your hand up. Let's go.
Yeah, so Awais actually mentioned one of the strongest tools when it comes to games in marketing, which is affiliate. And that one specific way or one specific place I wanted to touch is about if you want to talk about why do in traditional markets the games that generated the biggest revenue in the last few years are free to play model with a subscription, and the subscriptions are not super expensive. It's like $2. Like for example, in most of the battle royals, it's like $2.50 for a basic package, and then $4.50 or $4.99 for a higher package. And in Web3, we would be able to do it in a much better way. We are talking about like in the spaces like I heard, JRP, a lot of people talking about interoperability and of the NFTs and all these stuff. So imagine like if you have a game that you are building a game and all these stuff, and you are asking these NFT communities in the ecosystem with like really cool JPEGs and all these things, the people who are referring or the people who does some tasks, they do a freemium model and do a subscription of, let's say, $1.99. The whole thing is not to generate the revenue, in my opinion, and this is actually also mentioned by the Tencent. The whole the ideology of the subscription model is not to generate too much of revenue, but it to maintain a retention, because retention increases the value or traffic in the platform. And if you're a game, your value actually gets increased by how much traffic you are getting into the platform that attracts several brands and IPs to come and make partnerships with you. For example, we saw the early days of the COVID, several number of concerts taking place in the Fortnite. We saw Squid Games having doing some stuff. We saw in Players Unknown Battleground and the Fortnite both doing the Suicide Squad, the movie before movie came in, they were selling like crazy NFTs and like skins, actually normal skins. And if you wanted to hit the jackpot of having a super rare skin, or they have clothes in the Players Unknown, and I was around, I think, $100 you need to spend, because they don't let you buy the stuffs. Like you don't see what you're buying. Trust me, Footprint, it's like I'm saying this from my own experience. I have a huge profile in Players on Battlefield. I used to play. Like you are actually buying $10, $50, or $20 worth of Wheel of Fortune. So if you're lucky, you get the jackpot. If you're unlucky, you might end up spending $200 or $300 into this just to get this Suicide Squad, the most epic skin and all these things for your character. So when it comes to these things, I think in Web3 we can do so much more than that, because we can actually ask the people to pay like $1 for subscription that actually ensures our higher retention. Because if somebody is paying $1, okay, recently take a look at the X platform we are talking about. Alan was talking, I heard he was talking about charging every single user an yearly subscription of $1. I'm sure that he is not after money to charge $400 million from each user that he have on the platform. One, to eliminate the bots that he have, the maximum he could. Two, to ensure that there's somebody who's, if you're paying for something, definitely you will, in 24 hours, you'll find some time to come log into that platform and do something, either socialize with your friends, also do some tasks. So one reason for subscription model is to ensure a higher retention level. And then affiliate marketing is basically you will be inviting like-minded people to the platform, and you get handsomely rewarded for that. And in Web3, we can actually reward. For example, if for example, Kim is making a game, and his game is a casual game, and he knows for sure that he have people who will be interested in playing the same game JRP is building, which is an RPG game. In that case, RPG can actually invite or ask the users to use an affiliate marketing or referral code, where the users would be able to get some sort of NFTs from the Kim's game, where he would be able to go and play. Or RPG can have an NFT, one particular NFT that the people would be able to play in both games. So incentivizing the users is the best thing that we can do in Web3, and there are so many things that we could do when it comes to innovating the whole advertising model by integrating the user base or the community that we are having. Like UGC are one of the things that we have been talking about, and I'm sure that all of us who are speaking here, as well as listeners, your timeline will be filled with UGC content and all these things in X itself. Because recently what Yuga Labs is doing and what other NFT and the Gamify projects are doing with all these stuffs. And affiliate marketing is something I will really heavily push on when it comes to Web3, and as well as referral programs.
Hey, thanks you. I think affiliate marketing is super powerful in Web3, and especially since everybody is so incentive driven, it really works for these Web3 games. Now, I like to keep our spaces within an hour. So I got one more question though that I really would like to hit you guys with, and then we're going to end the space. And that question is, what are the potential challenges and possibilities of Web3 based ad attribution engines? And how do they compare to the Web2 counterparts like Google AdSense in terms of valuation? I haven't heard you speak for a second here, Jake. So I'd love for you to start it off if you have anything to add to this question.
Yeah, of course. So basically, like a Web3 based attribution, I think, to be honest, like I haven't seen anything that significant yet. So I'd love to see more. Of course, like in other ways, like we have seen a lot of interesting, creative ways of doing advertisements through smart contracts or affiliate program that we have just talked. I would just want to refer to the friend tech, how they like started the advertisements, and also let's say Faber or like a Cyber Connect, like all those like not advertisements but campaign based Web3 related engines, like um, but like there's nothing like very similar to what Google is doing through AdSense in terms of it. So I think like I'd love to see more of it, and the possibilities. There's a big chance that people can expect like bigger incentives from making their own ads and also participating the ads, because like every time like let's say YouTube Premium, nobody buys it like unless you really don't want to see those ads. People just wait for 5 or 10 seconds and they start skipping the ads, and probably that's going to happen at the same time when Web3 ads is not there. But let's think about like Web3 based ad attribution engines there, then people will never gonna skip those ads, because it's not the money is not only going to the content creators, but it's also going to the viewers, and that's the like fundamental concept of what Web3 community means, that incentives is distributed based on the contribution to the content, and content creator is not the only one who is making the contents in Web3 field. So I'd love to see more of it. Maybe I should start a project by myself from now on. But yeah, I think this is an amazing question. Thank you.
I had to put the crying emoji there because I do buy a YouTube Premium. I'm one of those guys who's got the YouTube Premium. Uh, oh God. So same question goes out to you guys. What are the potential challenges and possibilities of Web3 based ad attribution engines, and how do they compare to the Web2 counterparts like Google AdSense in terms of valuation? Wise Kim, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, so like when it comes to Web3 based ad attribution engine, so let's stay at the fundamental. So attribution is attribution. So the core of the attribution is understanding where your user come from and how they behave inside the product. Google Analytics are providing a very nice tool at the perspective of Web2 platforms to analyze the user behavior, and actually they are almost monopolizing the market. However, like due to the unique features we've been talking about Web3, like pseudonym and you know lack of like social context inside the transaction, it creates a unique opportunities for Web3 attribution engines to tap into the Web3 attribution market. So this is a vertical market from uh segmented from the total attribution market, where Web2 players are not interested in Web3 attribution right now. But so, however, there are a lot of Web3 projects looking for the attribution solutions. So it creates the unique opportunities for them to monetize and increase the valuation of the Web3 attribution engine as more and more projects adopts Web3, and more, the entire market size of the Web3 grows, then the valuation of the Web3 attribution engine will grow as well. Because uh, I've been talking from like early this year, the games and the Web3 projects will not focus on the like how much they generate revenue from NFT sales. but like how they are creating the revenue and how they are monetizing their users through like delivering the better games. So I think the attribution will be super important, more important in the futures.
I 100% agree. I'm gonna pass it next to JRP. Anything you'd like to add, and then we go right to Muaz.
I'm not a traditional marketer by design or advertiser, so I honestly don't have too much to add. But what I can say is, I think that there is so much change that will happen in general, just like Web3 advertising, that will have to be very similar to Web 2, but we will always have Web 2 advertising regardless because that's where all the users are currently at. Maybe one day it'll move over. If you are interested in learning a little bit more about like what I think the future of social looks like on chain, I would highly recommend you all look at farcaster.xyz, or you can look them up on X farcaster underscore XYZ, which is, I think there's a lot of consumer potential there for advertising, so it's going to be interesting to see how that looks like if they enable that one day.
Sweet, I gotta check those guys out. Sounds cool, man. I'm always interested on what you think about the future of Web3, especially like I said from a traditional marketing standpoint. Muaz, all yours, and then we're gonna wrap her up.
Thank you. So actually, ARP, I'm not sure like what you mentioned when you mentioned about not having the traditional market. Actually, you mentioned something very important, and Vice as well as what you mentioned about the Jack. When you mentioned about the not having on blockchain the advertising opportunities and all these things, and as well as Vice, what you mentioned about all these things, Footprint, a huge credit to you guys for the tools you guys are building, because that's like Vice mentioned, the key that unlocked the whole market in stuff for the Google and all these bigger other players. For example, recently, how the advertising market is how big. Even recently, early this year, Reddit started with the advertising on their platform, which allows users to be able to publish and do the promotions on their platform, similar to Facebook, because the advertising market is huge. So JRP, you mentioned earlier on I think the second question about having the ability to understand the volatile. For example, using the kind of tools that Footprints and all these guys are building at Footprints, you will be able to understand, okay, this guy have an amount of 100,000, or he have a value of $100,000 worth of NFTs, and he is more into the pudgy kind of the NFTs, and so it means he is a guy who is targeting to collect JPEGs. But for example, me, he have a mixture of JPEGs and also NFTs that are able to like gaming characters. So okay, if you are if ViceKit is promoting a game, then I might be in that category because I have some NFTs that are from gaming characters, games. So that's one of the key thing I would like to highlight about having tools. And definitely, Jack, I think faster than we think these blockchain and smart contract things will evolve, because recently we have, after few years of Ethereum blockchain starting in ERC 7551, then we saw 6551. Yes, 6551 recently we saw coming up, and I think they will be bringing up a lot faster than we think some certain things that we will be able to see on chain ads and all this stuff. Personally, I'm not that person. JRP, if you know something about more deeper into these things, how it could be, maybe you know somebody who's building already these things. I think they might be already working on some stuff like this cross promotion with the platforms like projects, games, or social media platforms. There is a YouTube, similar to YouTube, there's a platform that allows you to watch, having an NFT, and that allows you to watch and earn some stuffs and all these things. Like Vice mentioned, rewarding the community for watching, for interacting with the social interaction and all these stuffs. So on-chain ads will start coming in. And JRP, when it comes to Web 2 and Web 3, how I see is, back in the days when Web 1 started and Web 2 started, today we don't really hear people after a few years talking about Web 1. But I want to say that the Web 2 is not going to be existing. But I think in time, like what happened with Web 1, Web 2 will also slowly dim. That's my take on it. I might be a little bit optimistic, but that's how I take it on.
And with that, I think that's a great way to end our space tonight. I want to thank you guys, all of our speakers, for coming up and speaking on this topic today. We really kind of dove deep in with this. So Muaz, Wise Kim, Jake, and GRP, appreciate you guys coming up here and joining our space. So before we wrap it up, I would love for you guys to give some final thoughts. How to find you guys, where to connect, talk a little bit about what you're building. And of course, if you guys like this space today, give all of our speakers a follow and check out Footprint as well while you're at it. You can go to our website, footprint.network, get all the data that you're looking for, get these growth solutions for your games that you need. Check out how we are helping dApps, especially games, grow in this market and help them continue to grow as they evolve and as the market and whole community as a whole evolves as well. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it to JRP. Give us some final thoughts. How do we find you? And then we'll go through the rest.
Yeah, you can DM me on Telegram. Is probably the best way to reach me. It's Juan Rivera Perez there, or you can just follow me on X. Send me a DM, and I can send you the link to that. Happy to connect with really anybody. If you're here building in the Bear, then you're doing something right. So shout out to everybody here, and then shout out to Footprint as well.
Amen. Jake, any final thoughts about how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me over to this awesome Twitter space session, and also I'd love to thank you all the participants and also panel speakers as well. Actually, I've recently started my own community, which is called Jake's Crypto. I've been sharing Korean crypto news and Web3 news that is not shared on the newspapers. Which is something like very sensitive, also could be something very credentials. So please join my Twitter bio. There's a link to my community, and also you can always find me on Twitter and Telegram. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, man, always a pleasure having you on our spaces, Jake. Wise Kim, how do we get in touch?
Yeah, please follow me on X, and you can always send me a message to get connected with me. And yeah, don't forget to check out our company on Open. We have several projects incubating right now. So if there's any collab opportunities or any suggestion you would like to do with us, we are open to it. So just let me know. Yeah, thanks for having the space today. Footprint is on fire right now.
Let's go, and don't forget to shout out your Mirror account. That article that I read on the Mirror.xyz was one of the reasons I made this space today. So shout out to that again, and then Shiti Muaz, tell me how we get in touch, brother.
Thank you, guys. JRP, Jake, Footprint. Thank you very much for inviting, and all the listeners. And if any of you guys are building something related to gaming, yes, I am working for DeFi, one of the DeFi projects. But if you are building something about gaming or anything, need my advice or some connections, feel free to hit up. And my links, you can find it on my X profile. The whole link tree is there. My LinkedIn is there. My Telegram, everything is there except TikTok and Instagram.
Great. And again, I want to thank all of you guys one more time. I cannot wait to turn this space into some short clips and share with, post it on the accounts. I think there's some great content in today's space, and it's all because of you guys, our amazing panelists. And with that being said, we're going to see you next week. We got another GameFi focused space about what aspects of Web3 should really be adopted for games that want to come on chain. And with that being said, you guys, we'll catch you next week and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.